Welcome now again, dear friends, to Fresh Bread. Reverend Phil Anderson here with you. Hey, I told you I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Right Now Media. I want you to listen to one of the great speakers today, Kyle Idleman from Louisville, Kentucky. Just take a listen.
I recently Googled the phrase, most impactful person in history. I guess I wasn't too surprised to find that Time Magazine has already put together a list. The top 100 most influential people to ever live. Started scrolling through the list, wondering where Jesus would be on it. And sure enough, right there at the top, number one, Jesus. I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, even if you don't believe Jesus is the Son of God, it's hard to deny the impact he's had on this world. Think about it this way. You can't even write down today's date without acknowledging that all of history is divided into the time leading up to his birth and the time since. You look back on it now, and his impact seems obvious. But when Jesus was born, it just didn't seem like he was put in a position to have that kind of impact. It didn't seem like things were in his favor to be a person with that kind of influence. I mean, just think about it. Jesus was born the child of poor peasants. He grew up in this remote podunk town, lived in obscurity for 30 years, did some work as a carpenter, never ventured more than a few hundred miles away from where he was born. He never went to college. He was never voted into office, never had a title or a position that would have looked good on a resume. Jesus didn't have, thousands of Facebook friends or millions of Instagram followers. He wasn't TikTok famous, didn't have a YouTube channel. He never tweeted. I don't think he did. He never even had his own podcast. He was a homeless preacher. He spent a few years traveling around preaching. He was arrested and he was sentenced to die a common criminal's death. Yet here we are, a couple of millennium later, and he is Time Magazine's most impactful person in the history of the world. And so the question for us is, how did he do it? I mean, what was the secret? I'd like to know, because I'd like to have influence and impact, and I want it to be in the way of Jesus. I know I'm not the only one, right? Like, I'm sure you and I have things that are different about us, different personalities, different gifts and interests. But one of the things that we have in common is that we want to make a difference with our lives. We don't want to just be space takers. We want to be difference makers. But how? I mean, how do we live that way? You know this. We're drowning in content that tells us how to seize the day, how to make a difference, right? I mean, I've read the books and researched the articles, listened to podcasts, I've attended conferences, I've taken notes as I've studied the autobiographies of difference makers, just trying to understand how they did it. And we ask the questions, okay, what were their routines and what were their habits? What were their best practices? But when I looked at that list in Time Magazine, acknowledging that no one has had a bigger impact than Jesus, I asked myself, okay, how did he do it? What did he do differently? And I decided to take an afternoon and I just reread the Gospels with this question in mind. How did Jesus have such an impact in this world? And the conclusion I came to is one at a time. One at a time. Like, that's it. Jesus did life with a zoom lens. When someone stood in front of him, time stopped. Everything else in his life, all of his concerns and his agenda and his plans, his goals, his schedule for the day seemed to just be put on pause. Everything seemed to just blur into the background. The only thing that mattered was the person standing in front of him. And Jesus changed the world one person at a time. This is the way of the gospel.
Amen. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. This is my point I wanted to make. I'm looking forward to studying this particular series coming up soon. It's called One at a Time. But what I wanted to share with you, friends, is simply this, that with Right Now Media, we have an opportunity to hear teaching and instruction and encouragement from some of the best leaders and pastors in really the world. It's not just limited to the United States. They're from all over the world. And I pray that we will take advantage of this opportunity. If people aren't going to watch it, that's fine. We said we give it probably till the end of the year, so we've still got about 3 months. We're down to about 3 months. My question is, have we done it as a church? And I'm just going to be completely real. I have seen no indication that it's a priority, other than what I've tried to encourage and in a sense, push through to some degree. And I think it's been embraced reluctantly at best. And that's fine. I understand people want to go back to what's comfortable. But I think there's a lot here. And so if we go back to our Sunday school classes as we've had them for 50, 60, 70 years, that's fine. I got no problem with it. I really don't. What I'm saying is let's add this to it. Remember, I've told you I'm an and both kind of person if you were to categorize the way I look at things in terms of ministry. I don't look at either my way or the highway. I've never said that, and hopefully I never will. It's got to be something you want to do if we're going to do it. I try to lead and I try to give ideas and vision, but ultimately it'll be your decision. And so if you have a good way for me to articulate this and explain it and encourage the whole church, whether it's Oakland or Kansas Avenue, let me know. Other than to start showing this in our worship service. And I'm okay to do that. Matter of fact, we could watch this particular session right here every Sunday. And I'm not saying that we won't. I'm looking through there. The problem is some of them go about 14 minutes. If they were 7 minutes or less, I would do it without any hesitation. I'm looking at it right now. Episode 1 is 11 minutes. That's the shortest. Then it goes 14, 12, 12, 11, 12, and 16. So I would be reticent to do that for a worship service. However, I would love to see us do it some other way. And if you feel led to lead a group, and that would entail you opening the door or having someone open the church door for you or your home, turning the TV on and getting this one at a time group study guide. There's a free study guide with this we can give you. Then all you got to do is lead the group. You don't have to prepare anything. You don't have to preach a sermon. You don't have to have great Bible knowledge. You don't have to have anything memorized. Just read the study guide. But listen to this first, and then have some coffee and maybe some cookies or a coffee cake. Maybe somebody will make some poppy seed bread, lemon poppy seed muffins. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Wouldn't that be fun? Have a little, maybe some... Oh, gee, what else sounds good in the fall? Maybe I'm thinking banana nut bread, hot banana nut bread. Oh, my wife used to make that with, oh, my goodness. And we'd get that warm out of the oven and it'd be crispy on the outside, put a little butter on it. I'm telling you, man, that was some of the best stuff I think I ever had. But make it fun for people. I'm going to close with a comment. Please do not take this wrong, but I don't care. I would say this to anybody, anytime, any place. I don't feel like, and this is what I've observed being at these two churches for over 4 years, I do not get the sense that we are people who really have a good time at church. I just don't feel that way. I mean, it's a celebration. We come with complete openness to new ideas. We instead seem to be so concerned about doing the same thing the same way that it's always been done. And as I said, I'm okay with the traditions. I truly am, friends. I can't explain. I can't emphasize that enough. I can't explain it enough. But at the same token, I'd like to see us move into some new areas and to open ourselves up. Maybe we've just been in a spiritual straitjacket for so long, we don't even know how to just relax and enjoy the goodness of God. I don't know. But these are great teachers. I think they help us with our own spiritual development. And before we close the door on Right Now Media, which we could do in about 3 months, I'm not saying we will, I'm not saying we won't. But before we do, I would pray that a lot of us will at least give it a try. Instead of just passing it on and saying, well, no thanks. And that's kind of the impression that I've gotten so far. Again, I'm not being critical. I'm just telling you exactly what I see. If I'm wrong, correct me. I will come on here next week and say, hey, I was wrong. I guess there's 85% of the people are watching Right Now Media every day at home or at least once a week. and they're doing in-home Bible studies. They're using it for their Sunday school curriculum at the church. They're excited. They're wanting to come down and help with the children because the children need somebody to run this machine so they can watch it, so that we don't have the leader trying to be all concerned about the technology, and then the kids are going nuts because the leader's turning their back and is trying to figure all this out. I mean, if it's something that we really believe in, we'll make some sacrifices. If it's not, we got to let it go. And I just think there's so much that we'll be letting go with it. But that's, again, the decision the church is going to have to make. I can only do so much. So I pray that you will take this seriously, get the word out, encourage people. If you have an idea of ways we can get right now media into the hands of people, that it's going to be a way that's going to impact their lives, that's going to change their life, it's going to be something they look forward to. It's going to just be that spark that they need to really awaken them spiritually. Let me know. I'm all ears, friends. I literally don't know what else I can do that I haven't already done. And I mean, I've got ideas, but like I said, we did a lot of things over the months of April, May, June, July, and just virtually no interest. So that's okay. And even into September, that's okay. We're going to move. We're not going to try to pound the round peg into the square hole. We'll try something new. I'm not giving up, but I'm not going to keep doing the same thing and expect different results either. So do give me your thoughts and ideas. Keep this in prayer. Encourage those around you to really develop their own spiritual lives by looking into this. We don't need to talk about the weather or the way things were 40, 50 years ago. Let's talk about what is Jesus Christ doing in your life today. That's where the churches need to be. Amen. Well, thank you for joining me on this extended version. I really appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed Kyle Idleman. We're going to hopefully hear back from him on a session that we'll be doing at the churches here real soon. So be looking forward to that. We'll get that information out to you ahead of time so you can make sure to watch. In the meantime, you can go and watch us on your device at home, whether it's your phone, your tablet, or your television. You can watch this because it's all available. If you still haven't figured out how to log on, let me know and I'll try to help you. Okay? Well, thanks for joining me. Have a good day. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.